For a lot of people, video games are a truly multiplayer experience. It is something where they have an experience growing up where they're playing with their brothers and sisters or cousins or best friends, or even online in MMOs like World of Warcraft or EverQuest. And multiplayer gaming was something that was just a signature moment for them. But that wasn't the case for me. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jake. Welcome to Square Peg. This is the second time I've recorded this, so hopefully this one takes. The kind of gaming I like are single-player games, and I'm going to talk today about what I feel are the best single-player games out there. Now, there's a giant asterisk, a huge caveat, an absolute massive yeah but on this, because as much as I do love all of these games, and I think these are some of the best single-player experiences out there, there are some honorable mentions and ones that I feel need to be mentioned as kind of necessary and things that should be on every single list. First things first, we're going to start off on the Super Nintendo, and there are 4 games in particular that I want to bring up that I think are imperative to talk about with regards to single-player experiences. And the first one is Super Metroid. I don't own a physical copy of it, but Super Metroid is something that to me is not only one of the greatest single-player games of all time, it's just one of the greatest video games of all time. It might be the best Super Nintendo game ever. It is something that perfected what was kind of set up with the original Metroid on the NES. Not necessarily something I loved, but I saw the promise in it, and it turned a fairly middling game, in my opinion, from the NES into something that was an absolute must-play on the SNES. Additionally, one of the best games on that console is a RPG that I think kind of broke every single mold and changed the game for what an RPG could be, and that's Earthbound. Earthbound to me was one of those games that just spoke to me the first time I saw it in Nintendo Power, and I remember vividly buying it from the Kmart in Cape Coral, Florida in the giant big box and getting it home and seeing the scratch and sniff stickers inside the strategy guide that was packed inside, and I just couldn't believe it. It was something to me that was just really magical, and it was a fantastic game. It still is to this day. Like, it definitely shows its age. It hasn't aged terribly gracefully, but it's something that for me was a memorable experience to play and a memorable experience to collect, and it's just such a great game overall, and it's such a different game than anything else on this list. I think one of the games that is incredibly important on the Super Nintendo, for me at least, is Final Fantasy III or Final Fantasy VI, whichever one you want to call it. It's my favorite Final Fantasy. I like it better than 9, better than 10, better than 7, better than any of the other ones in the franchise. 6 is my personal favorite. Whether we're looking at the deeply resonant storyline and the kind of the emotional beats of the story, to things like just the overall design of the characters and the gameplay experience for each one, and how each character plays a little bit differently than the other ones and gives you kind of an amazing gameplay experience overall, that game is incredibly memorable to me and something that I feel is one of the epitomes of single-player experiences out there. But you can't go past the Super Nintendo without mentioning The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. For a lot of people, this is their favorite Zelda game. I have another Zelda game on this list. This one is the one that set Zelda up as a franchise. I know a lot of people that are fans of the NES will point at Zelda 2 and the original Zelda and say, no, that's where it started. But no, it started with A Link to the Past. Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 were great. A Link to the Past was transcendent. It was something that was legitimately a superlative experience and just made the Zelda franchise memorable and important and just spectacular. Another important franchise to me, and I'm going to show you some B-roll here, is the Mega Man franchise. I've talked about this one ad nauseum on the channel. Whether we're talking the 8-bit games, the 16-bit games, Legends, I love every single Mega Man game out there. I think they're fantastic. I'm not going to go too in-depth on it just because you guys know how much I love it. Mega Man rules. He's awesome. My favorite video game of all time is a single-player experience RPG, and that would be Suikoden 2. I am so thrilled that we have remasters of this game now and that people are discovering it for the first time or having a chance to play it for the first time after knowing about it for years, but not being able to dedicate the financial needs necessary to be able to get a copy of it. It's a magical game and something that is just, I think, a perfect experience and probably, in my opinion, the best single-player game out there. A franchise to me that I think is represented here by one game from the PlayStation 2, and that would be Ratchet & Clank. Like I said, this is the Going Commando entry, but every single game in that franchise is fantastic. Whether you're talking about the amazing voice acting, the fantastic combat, the wonderful gameplay, the amazing world building and lore that goes into each game, they are a fantastic franchise, and just each one of them hits a little bit differently but all of them are wonderful. And I can't say enough good stuff about it. It's just a perfect franchise to me. This one's going to get in on a technicality because there's a massive online component to it, but I think the online gameplay and an additional game on this list as well is kind of secondary to what was the single player experience for Red Dead Redemption 2. And this is one that it took me a long time to come around on because as much as I appreciated the artistry for it, I really do have a hard time getting into Rockstar games. I've never been a fan of Grand Theft Auto. It's never been a franchise I really dug. And I wasn't sold on Red Dead Redemption 2. I didn't really like the original Red Dead Redemption. I didn't really enjoy it as much as a lot of other folks did. So getting this one, it was a little bit boring at first. And it was a little bit overwhelming because it is a ton of game. Like there's so much to do in that game. But it's pretty wonderful in the grand scheme of things. And I really think that there's some incredible storytelling going on in there, and just what a cast of characters to build your world around. Just a fantastic game. Last ones from the honorable mentions, and then we'll get on to the real deal list, is, which my top 10 is 11 games, just for the record. So just understand, the hits keep coming, folks. This is, I can't count. Math is hard. But this is a franchise near and dear to me, and I think every game in this franchise should be included, including the black sheep of the family and the online game, and that's the Fallout series. Whether you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, New Vegas, Brotherhood of Steel, I think they're all wonderful and all really, really important games. And I think for something that is not my typical wheelhouse, like it's not typically something I would get into, I'm definitely more geared towards the Elder Scrolls, because I love fantasy. I love high fantasy stuff like that. You have to be special to get my attention, and Fallout is incredibly special. And I love that franchise so much, and I think it's an absolutely amazing, amazing series of games. Hey, if you're enjoying this one, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd love to have you stick around. All right, top 11 now. And number 11 to me as a single player experience is one that is technically... I'm already breaking my rule here. It is technically a multiplayer game because you can't play two-player here. But I only experienced this single player growing up. I didn't actually know this was multiplayer until I picked up the disc and was looking at the back of it the first time I recorded this, and that's Jammer Lammy. Whether you're talking Jammer Lammy or Parappa, I think that they are bizarre enough games that they should really stand out to anybody. I personally prefer Jammer Lammy. I just thought that the gameplay was wonderful. I thought Lammy was a magnificent protagonist. And to me, it had some incredibly memorable songs in it. And it's just a blast to play. It's something to me that I think everyone should experience at least once. And I know a lot of people have played Parappa, but I don't know a ton of people that have played Jammer Lammy. And like I said, yeah, it's technically a two-player game. I guess that disqualifies it from my list, but it's my video, so I'm keeping it on there. Number 10, and this is one representative of the entire franchise, and that is Sly Cooper. This is Sly and the Thievius Raccoonus. This is the first game in the franchise. I love everything that Sucker Punch did with the Sly Cooper franchise, whether you're talking unbelievable artistry behind it. Dev Madden did the artwork for the Sly Cooper franchise. Dev Madden's one of my favorite comic book artists. And to see his vision of what these characters would look like brought forth into 3 dimensions, and to be put into this fantastic world with unbelievable level designs and just great gameplay was brilliant overall. It's an absolutely wonderful game. And every game in the franchise is good. Even kind of the Black Sheep on the PS3 has its moments. It's not as good as the original trilogy, but I still think it's excellent, and I still think it's worth playing. They're just magnificent games overall, and just ones that, to me, really show what Sony was capable of doing when they really put their minds to creating a magnificent franchise back in the 2000s. Next up, and this one, again, this has multiplayer aspects to it, but to me, the multiplayer is such an ancillary, just kind of like weird-ass bonus that doesn't really work. It doesn't really matter to me. I've never played it, and that's Uncharted 4. Now, any game in the Uncharted franchise could make this list because they're all great. Whether you're talking the original PS3 ones or the Golden Abyss on the Vita, they're all fantastic. But for me, Uncharted 4 tops the list because of the storyline behind it and because of the aspect of family and how important it is. The story in this game is magnificent. It's deeply emotional. If you've ever been in a family that keeps secrets and tries to hide flaws to show them as to show yourself as being as perfect as possible, you'll understand why this matters. I think a lot of people go through that, and it's portrayed so well in this game, whether it's the writing from Naughty Dog or something like the acting from Nolan North and everyone else in the game. It's a really important game to me, and it really matters. I think there's something to be said here for any story that kind of fills a need of found family. Found family is very important to me. It's always been something that's been deeply important to me. Like, I mean, I'm wearing a Dungeon Crawler Carl shirt, and like the thing that matters the most to me in those books is the aspect of found family and platonic love. And there's such a deep emotional resonance with the Uncharted franchise that to me is just it's so important. It's such a great franchise, and 4 is my favorite. Next up, a series, and this any one of these games can be excellent. Whether you're talking the trilogy, the sequel, yes, I do include the sequel in this list, or the remaster, and that would be Mass Effect. This is 1, 2, and 3. I do include Andromeda because I don't think Andromeda is as bad as everyone makes it out to be. But I think obviously the first 3 are the best. And the first 3 really show what BioWare was capable of when they had the ability to be patient. Because there was something to be said about Knights of the Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic 2, both games I truly love. Obviously, BioWare did the first one, but it was a buggy mess, and it was a rough game at a lot of places. And there were aspects of the game that needed a more powerful system to run, and that's what we got with the Mass Effect trilogy. Whether it's the moral choice system, the different character relationships you're able to have, the development of Shepard as a character crossing over all 3 games, it's pretty remarkable what BioWare was able to do. And I'm really lucky that I worked at EA when these games were coming out, because I got to experience them firsthand when they released. It made working there really interesting, because I was so inundated with just working on sports games that seeing something else from another EA studio was really cool. And they hold up to this day. They're still fantastic. I don't know a lot of people that have played them and disliked them. I think pretty much everyone who has played them thinks they're wonderful, and I think you should play them if you haven't. I think they're that important and just absolutely worth playing. All right, next up, this is one that to me is really kind of the epitome of what Rare is best at. Now, there's a lot of excellent Rare games out there. A lot of them are single-player experiences. There's obviously stuff like GoldenEye and things like that show the multiplayer aspect of it. But I think this is probably the flagship of excellence on the Nintendo 64, and that is Banjo-Kazooie. I don't think I can ever forgive Nintendo for not renewing the contract with Rare, and I don't think I can ever forgive Microsoft for kind of shelving Rare and making them just become a Sea of Thieves studio where they're not able to produce other games like the Banjo-Kazooie franchise. And it sucks because, we got Nuts and Bolts. Nuts and Bolts wasn't great, but we have these 2 shining examples of what Rare was capable of with the original Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. And I think there's something to be said about Kazooie being the pinnacle of what an N64 era collectathon platformer can be. It is an absolutely remarkable game that is just gorgeous to look at. Like, even to this day, like, yes, the N64 graphics are dated. Yes, it looks rough around the edges. Yes, it's not as pretty as modern games. But for what that system was capable of, that game is an absolute masterpiece visually. And that's before you even get to the writing, the gameplay, and I think the most important part of Banjo-Kazooie, the music. It's an incredible title and one of the best single-player experiences ever. All right, I love superhero stories, and I think one of the most important superhero games ever made isn't actually my favorite game in the franchise, but I think it is the best game in the franchise, and that is Arkham City. I remember when Arkham Asylum released, and I played it, and I thought it was amazing. I didn't think there was any way that Rocksteady and Warner Brothers could top it. And then City released, and they topped it in every conceivable way. Like, every metric that Arkham set, City smashed. And I prefer Arkham Origins, and I know that makes me weird, but as someone who loves Christmas and loves the holidays and loves wintertime, Origins to me is just a more personal connection, but City is a significantly better game. I remember when this released and sitting down and playing it and just being blown away by what I experienced at the start. The storyline of Bruce going into Arkham City and knowing that he was setting himself up for essentially just both physical and mental abuse the entire time he was in there was incredible. Being able to play as Catwoman was awesome. All of the different characters from the Batman mythos being in there and being portrayed better than they ever have in the history of the character in any media is amazing. It is the best Batman video game ever made. And it only gets better because of the portrayal of the characters from their animated series voice actors. It's just incredible. It is legitimately one of the greatest video games ever made, and something to me that just shows that even though licensed games are often decried and often looked over and often made fun of, this shows what a licensed game can do. All right, next up, we're going to talk about Castlevania, and I love the Castlevania franchise. Castlevania to me is something that really showed what a franchise could become based on its origins. Like I mentioned Super Metroid at the start, Castlevania to me kind of excels beyond what Super Metroid did, as much as I love Super Metroid. When you look at the first three Castlevania games, they're fantastic, and they're all very different. 1 and 3 are similar in gameplay, but scope is very different. Like 1 is a very linear game, 3 has a lot of branching paths, 2 is a completely open world for an NES game. And then you get Super Castlevania 4, which is fantastic, and Bloodlines, which is also fantastic. And then you get to the pinnacle of the series in Symphony of the Night. And then, of course, there's all the GBA games and DS games, and all of them are amazing as well. But the transition from what was essentially a platform adventure game to becoming something like Symphony of the Night as a Metroidvania, and having that really set the standard for what that genre could be. What, you know, basically Super Metroid ran so Symphony of the Night could fly. And it was something that I still love and I still think is amazing to this day. Next, we're going to talk about an RPG. And RPGs are typically single player experiences, but one that I think really stands out, and it's actually this one and its sequel, and I want to talk about both Paper Mario and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, because I don't think you can really separate the two. The Paper Mario franchise gets a little wackadoo later on, and it starts to kind of take some liberties with what the gameplay experience was, but I think there's something to be said for the original Paper Mario and Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. The design of the characters and the design of the world is beautiful, and the ability to kind of flatten Mario and kind of go into cracks and stuff like that was a really cool gameplay experience, and something that actually calls back to a game later on this list. And the idea of a game like that, despite the fact that we had Legend of the Seven Stars on the Super Nintendo, Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door were different experiences than I think I had anticipated. And they were incredibly memorable and incredibly well made and incredibly well done, and I still think they hold up to this day. The reason I'm showing off the N64 cartridge in particular is because of how important it is to me personally. This game led to my wife becoming the gamer she is today and playing the games that she likes today. She had pretty much played exclusively puzzle games leading up to this, but when I was working at EA, we rented a townhouse and we had a loft on the second floor that was basically my retro room. And I had my N64 set up there on a CRT, and I came home from work late one night and I saw the flicker of the CRT upstairs, and she was up there playing Paper Mario. It's the first game she ever beat, and I think that should be commended because of how important of a game it is to me. Next up, and again, I love superheroes. I talked about Batman Arkham, and one of the most signature things about Arkham City and the Arkham franchise is the combat. And the combat in Arkham City lent itself to the next game on this list in a way. Like it feels like it's kind of that combat's cousin, and it would be for the original Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. I'm a big fan of Peter Parker as a character. One of the things that I love about the character is that he's an everyman. All of us can see ourselves in Peter Parker. It doesn't matter the experience or the situation, despite the fact that he is this absolutely superpowered character with these unbelievable abilities. We still recognize the struggles that Peter goes through, whether it's issues in his love life or money issues or work issues or trying to balance the things he loves to do against his responsibilities as Spider-Man. It's something where I think we can all look at him and go, yeah, I can see myself doing that. I understand where he's coming from. It's a really wonderful character, and it's a shame that it took as long as it did to get what I feel is a perfect game featuring that character on a video game. The ones based on the movies were good, and there were some great ones on the Xbox 360 as well, but I don't think that anyone captured what that character was about until Insomniac's Spider-Man. The writing is top-notch. The look of the game is fantastic. The ability to just swing around New York, like when I was having bad days at work, that would be my mental health break, was I would take 25, 30 minutes, just hop into Spider-Man and swing around New York and explore. And not worry about stopping crimes, not worrying about doing anything gameplay-wise, just being in the shoes of Spider-Man. And I think the game is incredibly important because of that, at least to me. And again, this is just my opinion. I'm not the arbiter of what is the best, but to me, it is one of the best single-player experiences of all time. Miles Morales is also great. Spider-Man 2 is a really good game as well. I think that one was a little bit rushed and kind of buggy, but I love the first Spider-Man, and I'm excited as hell to see what they do with the Wolverine game later this year. In at number 2, and I don't own a physical copy of this, although I need to rectify that, is the original adventure game that got me to love that genre, and that is The Secret of Monkey Island from LucasArts. I loved playing on my computer when I was younger. I played the hell out of games like The Bard's Tale and Caveman Olympics and things like that. It was C64 was my source of truth. And I remember seeing Monkey Island at computer camp one summer, and I was very curious about it. I didn't know much about it, but I wanted to try it. And at the time, I was heavily into things like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, still am. Comedy has always been unbelievably important to me, and it's something that I think is a genre that we don't see often enough in video games. Like, we'll have things that have a sense of humor, but not straight comedy like the Monkey Island games are. And what we got with The Secret of Monkey Island is not only an unbelievable adventure game with some of the most beautiful pixel art ever made, but a fantastic soundtrack, a wonderful storyline, some unbelievably creative gameplay, and just something that made the genre of adventure games one of my all-time favorites, and something that I still love today. I think The Secret of Monkey Island is one of the most important video games ever made, because I think it was able to kind of bridge the gap in a way like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and the Oregon Trail did, by making games approachable for people on a computer. There was no real time-based stuff happening in The Secret of Monkey Island, except for trying to get the grog from one side to the other when you had to melt the bars of the prison. But for the most part, you were able to sit and think and kind of decide what you were going to do and figure out where you needed to go. The combat was wonderful with the different insults and stuff like that. It was just an unbelievably creative game, and it makes me miss LucasArts. It really does. They're still wonderful. Every game in the franchise is fun in one way, shape, or form. I do think the first one is the best, though. And yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful game overall. Number 1 for me, though, and I haven't had a lot of Zelda on this list. We did talk about the ones kind of the ubiquitous games at the start with Link to the Past, but Link to the Past led to this game. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, oh, it's Ocarina, it's Majora, it's Breath. It's not. For me, the best Zelda game and my favorite single-player experience ever is A Link Between Worlds on the 3DS. I love A Link to the Past. 15 years ago, before I had played this one, Link to the Past would have been my favorite number 1 with a bullet single-player experience ever, until I played this. This game does everything that Link to the Past does, and it just pluses it. The storyline is wonderful. The ability to utilize the capabilities of the 3DS and to integrate some of that 3D kind of traversal and 3D technology into the gameplay was really magical to experience. Link being able to flatten himself on a wall and kind of move around a little bit Paper Mario style, I thought was really neat. I think the storyline was wonderful. I think the combat is brilliant. I think the gameplay overall is top tier. It is, without hesitation, my favorite Zelda experience and my favorite Zelda game of all time. As much as I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and Link to the Past and Majora and Ocarina and Link's Awakening and things like that, my measuring stick for Zelda greatness is A Link Between Worlds. It is the reason to own a 3DS, in my opinion. That's an absolutely brilliant game. I would love to get a remaster of that one day on the Switch too. I think that would be just a magical experience. That's my list. Again, I am not the arbiter of excellence. What I say does not make my list right. What you say does not make your list right for me. It is just what my opinion is for the best single-player games of all time. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite single-player games? If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and stick around. I'd love to have you be here. I'm on my way to 20,000. I'm almost there. I'd love to have you be here for that. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.